Yes, while you were talking, I was thinking that how many people, by the tens of thousands, if not millions, certainly around the world, people go on paths that their parents set for them, and they are not even allowed to live out whatever their dream is when they are young. And then it takes people absolutely decades to come to the realization that, hang on a minute, this is really not for me. And then we can end up literally regretting our whole life up to that point anyway. Yeah, actually, that's probably opening a whole big can of worms of how could we possibly introduce that sort of balance into a life at an early age where people would realize that children are not their possessions and they should be allowed to seek out whatever they would like to do in their lives and fulfill that.
Yeah, there's an interesting. I love this expression you may have heard. The longest road we'll ever travel is from our mind to our heart, and we often follow the mind, but actually the heart is truly who we are. We love from the heart, we give from the heart, we receive, but often we're regulated by this ongoing thoughts and this mind. And in the Chinese tradition, the mind is in the heart. So that road doesn't exist.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
we, yeah,
Okay.
so the mind is in the heart. And in fact, the heart sends something like 80% more signals to the brain than the brain to the heart. There's an Institute of Heart Math in California. They study this. So there's a lot of evidence, scientific evidence. And it's so interesting that when we truly connect with our hearts, and in the Chinese, Qigong, the heart is the ruler of the emotions, the heart is, who we truly are, then many things. And if we listen to the heart and take our time, not just with Qigong, whatever practice it is, taking time maybe in silence, or how we start our day, how we end our day, remind ourselves to pause every so often and breathe and slow down. It's really connecting with our true nature, I'd say. So this idea, what if the mind, I'd ask ourselves this question, what if my mind was in my heart, or is in my heart? And then suddenly I relax and think, oh, that's nice. The mind can
Yeah.
switch off for a while, or
Yeah.
hopefully for longer.
Yeah, I think it's sort of drifting into the next question that I have prepared here. That obviously you spent decades studying and teaching Qigong now, and you've explored very different traditions around the whole world. But what first made you realize that consistent daily rhythms could change someone's or your mental, physical, and emotional state?
I think I realized when I started practicing and getting deeper into the practice, because initially I was curious. Somebody said there's this Chinese chap in a church in North London teaching this thing I'd never heard of. So I went along. I had nothing to do that weekend, but I could sense this energy between my hands, what they call the qi. And I thought, oh God, I really want to study this and look into what is this energy beyond my own, because I've only existed in this little shell here for most of my life. I think, starting to practice daily, I realized that, my emotions became much more settled, going back to the mind and the heart.
Mm.
I tuned in more to myself, to my body, to my intuition. And also, relationships improved with other people as my energy shifted and I was more connected to the qi, the earth's energy, the yin, the heaven's energy, the yang. That's what Qigong is all about, this rebalancing these energies in our body. Many things improved in my life. And when I didn't practice, I think I've been doing it 45 years or so. And one year I had a year off because I was in a kind of relationship that took me down a rabbit hole somewhere. And, I got into what my teacher calls back into my casual state, which feels all right. And most people live in a casual state. But when I went back to the Qigong, things kind of reorganized. My life really changed. I said, I'm never letting this go again, because it was just a connection with my higher self and with this universal intuition or energy that makes us healthy and helps us thrive. And thank goodness, at my age, I'm still, I'd say relatively very, very healthy. I'd say. I think if I was in America, I'd be on 6 medications, and I'm on none. I'm glad to say, and I'm 68. So I'm doing all right at the
And
moment.
going strong. Yeah, I mean, that's so beautiful. You're saying that, experiencing that energy within and around you and how that improved your relationships. That's so beautiful. It's sort of really making some interest in me to look into this a lot more. I mean, I do practice meditation and affirmations, and as you mentioned, those little moments in the day, the morning, during the day, the evening, to just sum up how my day went, just be grateful. But this sounds like something considerably more than that.
It's actually, a lot of it is, as we're going back to the simplification, and there's an element of Buddhism, brought into Qigong, of Taoism. So actually, it's different philosophies brought into one umbrella. And Qi is energy, Gong is practice. And in a way, if you go for a walk in nature, you're kind of practicing Qigong.
Oh,
You may
okay.
not, you don't have to call it that, but it is an energy cleansing, purification practice. If you go by the sea, if you're with someone who makes you feel good and you're kind of, together, that there's an exchange of energy, that everything somehow is made up of energy, as we know. But also we are energy beings. So, but formally, Qigong is a practice. I do a self-healing form. It's called Hua Gong. But even simple things like in Buddhism, I love, I don't know if you probably know Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, who lived in France and set up a center there. And one of his famous expressions is, the miracle is not walking on water, the miracle is walking on the earth. And if we just, reflect on something as simple, some people might say, oh, what a silly thing. But actually, it is a miracle. We are, as humans, our consciousness,
Absolutely.
the potential we have is limitless, really, truly limitless. And we limit ourselves, going back to what we said earlier. So what can we do? I'd say to start the day well, during the day and in the evenings, maybe to remind ourselves, how to keep our energy protected, and how to keep ourselves, the energy also lively, how to keep ourselves inspired. All these are just levels and practices that come with the, as benefits of the Qigong, I'd say.